Welcome everybody to Roll. What do you call a candle that wears armor? A nightlight. How do you light up a soccer game? A soccer match. I love light puns. They're so easy to carry. Okay, all seriousness, folks, we are talking about a story that involves light today. A story that takes place during a time in the church's history when they were being persecuted. This has happened off and on all throughout the church's history, and this was in the early days of the church, soon after Jesus left. We kind of talked about this in one of our other Roseville story times. There were people coming in, capturing Christians, throwing them in prison, and sometimes executing them. It was not a fun time for the Christians. In fact, a lot of them started fleeing. They were started in Jerusalem, and they started running to all sorts of other cities. And one of the cities they were going to was a city by the name of Damascus. Now, the bulk of the persecution was being done by a guy named Saul. Hello there, I'm Saul. I follow God very diligently. I'm very zealous. I care a lot about serving God. And these Christians, oh man, they're changing things. I don't like it. They're changing things. They're telling us that this guy we executed named Jesus is actually God and that he rose from the dead. Yeah, right. I don't buy it. So you know what? I'm going to hunt these Christians down. They're telling us we need to do things like interact with Samaritans. Oh, it just boils my blood. Come on, boys. We're off to Damascus to wrangle us some Christians. And they took off. They took off to Damascus. They were going to find more Christians. They were going to imprison more Christians and possibly execute more Christians. But on the way, something happened. Something incredible happened. This bright, shining light came over to Saul. And he heard a voice calling out, Saul, Saul. And Saul replied, Who are you, Lord? I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. Make your way to Damascus, and when you get to Damascus, I will tell you what to do. And with that, the light disappeared. Saul was floored. The people with Saul were floored. They didn't see the light, but they heard the voice. They heard everything that had been told to Saul. But something happened after the light went away. Saul was, Oh no, I can't see. I can't see. I'm completely blind. I need to get to Damascus. Help me, man! Help me get to Damascus! And sure enough, they all made their way to Damascus, and they got to Damascus. But Jesus was busy. He was very, very busy. There's another guy by the name of Ananias. Hello, I am Ananias. I am a follower of Jesus, and I am going to pray today. Dear God, I love you. While Ananias was praying, Jesus showed up. Ananias, Ananias. Oh boy, it's a vision. Hello, Lord. How are you? Ananias, you must go to Judas on Straight Street. There's a man by the name of Saul of Tarshish there, and he's had a vision. I've given him a vision of a man by the name of Ananias, that's you, putting your hand on him, and he recovers his sight. Okay, Lord Jesus, I love you, but you must understand, Saul of Tarsus, he's persecuting us. Are you sure it's safe? He's coming after us. He's imprisoning many of us. Go, Ananias. Go. Saul is going to be my instrument for talking to kings and to Gentiles about me. He will see how much he will need to suffer for my name. And so Ananias got up, and he went over to the house where Saul was staying. And sure enough, when Ananias got there, Saul was praying to God. "Brother Saul, I have come to pray for you." And Ananias went over, and sure enough, when he put his hands on Saul and prayed for him, these things like scales came off of Saul's eyes, and he could see again. His sight was completely restored. It was a miracle. It was amazing. From that day on, Saul was fully committed to Jesus, fully committed to God. And instead of persecuting Christians, he was telling people about being a Christian. He was actually encouraging people to commit their lives to Jesus and to God. In fact, Saul gets his name changed. He gets his name changed to Paul. That's right, the same Paul that wrote most of the New Testament was the same guy who used to be Saul and persecute Christians. This is an incredible story of God's grace. There is nothing you can do, including knocking people over, that makes you too far gone for God. You can still come to Him regardless of how bad you think you've been or how awful you think. You can even persecute people, and God will still bring you back. It's an incredible story of God's grace. God giving us what we don't deserve. And that's a great, good thing. It's also a story of God's protection. I'm sure the Christians were praying, asking God to put an end to the persecution. And God answered their prayer, but He did it in an incredible way. He did it in an unexpected way. It kind of makes me wonder, are there people that your family needs to extend some grace to, just like God extends it to us? Or what are the prayers your family is praying for that maybe you need to wait and see how God is going to answer them? Wait and see in what unexpected way God will answer your prayers. Nobody expected it to be like this. God changing the heart of the main guy doing a lot of the persecuting. You can read the story of Ananias and Saul for yourself in the book of Acts. It's found in Acts chapter 9. That's all for Roseville Story Time.